Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of No Niche Zone, the podcast about everything. I'm your host, Priscilla Davies, and I am very, very pleased, very happy to be back here with you for another episode. I hope everybody's doing really well. Has spring sprung yet? I think spring is here. No? You know what? Let me look it up. I got the internet. We have the internet. I think spring is, maybe it hasn't sprung yet. Let's see. Oh, baby, we've been in spring, baby. I'm late, and we've been in spring. So y'all, spring has sprung. You know, it's getting warm out here, and we're just enjoying the new weather. You know, and oh man, you know, things are thinking. Life is happening. I don't really have much else to say. So I just want to jump into the show because I do have a lot to talk about. I'm trying to squeeze a lot in today. So let's see if we can get it all in. If not, there's always next episode. Okay. Fun fact, guys. Project 2025 is officially 42% complete. Yeah, that's right. You heard me correctly, folks. Project 2025 is officially 42% complete. We are 3 months into the new administration and 42% of Project 2025 has been completed. And y'all know Project, you remember Project 2025, right? That is the agenda that Trump said that he had no idea about. He had never heard of it. It had nothing to do with what he was trying to do, even though he turned around and created Agenda 47, which was exactly the same as Project 2025 with just a few little tweaks. You remember that? And he told everybody that he wasn't going to be implementing Project 2025. He told everybody he didn't even know what it was. He tried to distance himself from any association with it. Well, turns out, folks, the lie detector determined that that was in fact a lie. Trump lied to the American people. Are we shocked? Raise your hand if you're shocked that Donald J. Trump lied to the American people about his plans for his administration. Anybody? No, nobody? Any sir in the back with the striped shirt? No? Okay. Guys, this man told us that he didn't know anything about Project 2025. He told us that he wasn't doing anything like that. And here we are, not even 6 months. We are 3 months into his administration, and he has already implemented 42% of Project 2025. Now, we remember, folks, that Project 2025 was this agenda by super right-wing conservatives on what they were trying to accomplish in the government in 2025. And there were some scary things in there. And that's part of the reason why Trump tried to distance himself from them. However, as we have come to find out 3 months into his presidency, he lied to us, y'all, because 42% of Project 2025 has been implemented. Hey, 42%. Oh man. Guys, for people who thought that, you know, nothing was really going to change that much under the Trump presidency, that it was going to be the same old, you know, you can tell those were probably very privileged people who never actually feel any difference between different presidents. It's the same thing for them because they're at the top of the hierarchy benefiting from the fucked up ass system. But, you know, people who are like, it's not going to make a difference, or, you know, there's no difference between Democrats and Republicans. They're just two birds, two wings of the same bird, the same old rhetoric, that dusty, crusty rhetoric we've been hearing for literally decades, right? People saying this, thinking that it's some brand new shit just because you just came upon it. You know, for those folks who were saying it, do you think that Kamala Harris and a Kamala Harris administration would have implemented 42% of Project 2025 within the first 3 months of her administration? Anybody? Raise your hand. Anybody? Do y'all folks who said that Kamala and Donald Trump were the same. They're ostensibly zero difference. Two wings of the same bird. There's no difference if we vote for her or if we vote for him or a third party or if we stay the hell home. No difference. To those folks, do you think that Kamala Harris would have implemented 42% of Project 2025 at record-breaking speed the first 3 months of her administration? Methinks not. Methinks not. But that's where we are today, guys. Today, we are at 42% of Project 2025 being accomplished, having been completed of their agenda through the Trump administration. There is a website called Project 2025 tracker. You can find it at project2025.observer, project2025.observer. And this is a tracker that was begun by two people on Reddit, okay, who wanted to keep track of the different agenda items from Project 2025 that were actually getting passed and actually being implemented. And so they created this spreadsheet, and it started out as basically a passion project for these two Redditors, but it's grown into a community-driven resource powered by people like us who believe in the importance of transparent, detailed analysis. So they have been keeping track of the different agenda items in Project 2025. According to them, there are 305 agenda items that they have been tracking, and 98 have been completed and 61 are in progress right now, y'all. 42% has already been accomplished. Let's look at some of these agendas that have already been accomplished by the Trump administration. At the Department of Agriculture, Project 2025 sought to restrict the Low-Income Heat and Energy Assistance Program, LIHEAP, LIHEAP, who knows if they even pronounce it that way. And on April 1st, 2025, all staff at LIHEAP has been fired. Remember, this is a low-income heat and energy assistance program. So if you are a low-income person who was getting assistance with your heat and energy, the program has effectively been ended because all of the staff has been fired. And that was one of the agendas of Project 2025. Here's another Project 2025 agenda item that has been completed by the Trump administration. Their goal to weaken federal employee unions. Completed on March 27, 2025, Trump signed an executive order stripping collective bargaining rights from federal workers in 18 departments. Remember, collective bargaining is another way to say unionizing, coming together so that you can bargain and negotiate for better terms at your job. And of course, Trump went after the unions, and that was part of Project 2025's agenda, and it's already been completed. This is one of the 42% of agenda items from Project 2025 that have already been completed by the Trump administration. Okay, we have the Department of Homeland Security. Project 2025 called for them to eliminate the Office for Civil Rights and Civil Liberties. That was completed on March 31st, 2025. Of course, you know, the administration, MAGA, and Project 2025, they were coming for any diversity and equity and initiative and inclusion initiative programs, right? They want to remove any protections for people to try to balance out the inequalities that we see in the labor force, in other areas. And they came hard for DEI. You know, they want to make sure that they're giving those white men their unearned privileges and their advantages of being white in a white male supremacist society. Okay, so they got rid of they just got rid of it. The Office for Civil Rights and Civil Liberties. Department of Homeland Security. Project 2025 wanted to create a quote, single nationwide detention standard, end quote, that includes the quote, flexibility to use large numbers of temporary facilities such as tents, end quote. This was completed on April 11th, 2025. The administration administration is currently housing immigrants in El Paso, Texas, in, quote, tent complexes, end quote, made by a company called Deployed Resources. So, guys, Project 2025 wanted to create detention camps, wanted to create, let's be real, concentration camps, and let's be real, extermination camps. And they've already achieved that through the Trump administration in the first 3 months of the administration. The Commodity Futures Trading Commission, Project 2025's goal was to reduce regulations on cryptocurrencies. That was completed on April 8th, 2025. The DOJ instructed prosecutors to erase crypto in enforcement. Excuse me. And you know, Trump's been hawking his crypto scams, right? Trump's been out here hawking his crypto scams. So of course, he and his crypto buddies, he's going to make sure that he deregulates for them. And this was a goal of Project 2025, and that's already been accomplished by the Trump administration. The Department of Homeland Security, Project 2025, wanted to eliminate the Office of Immigration Detention Ombudsman. And they also wanted to eliminate the Office of the Citizenship and Immigration Services of Ombudsman. That's both been completed on March 21st, 2025. In education, Project 2025 wanted to cease investigating Title VI disparate impact cases. That was accomplished on March 12th, 2025. Effectively achieved by closing most civil rights offices. Staff says it will be, quote, virtually impossible, end quote, to resolve discrimination complaints. Remember, Project 2025, right? The DEI program for white men in America, they are attacking the DEI program for everybody else, right? And they were able to accomplish this through the Trump administration that lied to the American people and said he had no idea what Project 2025 was. He was not associated with it, but yet here he is having already implemented 42% of it in the first 3 freaking months of his administration. The Environmental Protection Agency, Project 2025, wanted to roll back the goal of haze reduction, visible air pollution. They accomplished ending the rollback of haze reduction on March 12th, 2025, guys. They said, Project 2025 said, you know what we need more of? Smog, haze, visible air pollution. That's what we need more of. We don't, you know what? Clean air, F that. If we have clean air, how are all of my cronies that are in oil and fossil fuels, how are they going to continue to be billionaires? No. We need to make sure that we have more smog, more haze, more visible air pollution. So we are asking for the EPA to rescind the goal of reducing that. And they did it. March 12th, 2025, the Trump administration made it happen for Project 2025. Also with the EPA, they requested to institute a pause and review of all grants. This was completed on March 12th. The EPA terminated grant agreements worth $20 billion. So when in the next few years, when you start seeing smog again, like it's the 1970s all over again, you know exactly who did it. You know exactly who suggested it. Project 2025, Heritage Foundation. You know exactly who implemented it, the Trump administration. And you know exactly when it happened, within the first freaking 3 months of his administration. March 12th. In the Department of Commerce, Project 2025 wanted to abolish the Census Bureau National Advisory Committee on, you guessed it, race, ethnic, and other populations. And the Trump administration completed that on March 4th, 2025. Remember, they're coming for the DEI. White, rich men in America, they want fairness as long as they're at the top of the fairness. They only want inequality when they are the ones that benefit from it. Okay? So next we have the Housing and Urban Development. Project 2025 wanted to repeal the Affirmatively Furthering Fair Housing Act, which requires HUD, the Housing and Urban urban development to actively address historical patterns of segregation. They got rid of that March 3rd, 2025. So essentially, you trying to segregate in housing, go for it. Because Project 2025 made sure that the Trump administration got that through. Then we have the Department of Agriculture again. Project 2025 wanted to reinstate Trump's executive order to manage wildfires by doing what? Reducing vegetation and increasing logging. So how do they want to reduce wildfires? Cut it all down. Increase logging. Cut all the trees down. Nothing will burn if there's no trees. That ties in very well with the bringing back visible air pollution. That ties in real great with that. That was accomplished on March 1st, 2025. In the interior, the Project 2025 wanted to reinstate Trump's Migratory Bird Treaty Act, saying that companies will not be punished for killing migratory birds. So now, as of February 28th, 2025, it was passed. It was instated. Interior, you can go out and kill migratory birds if you feel like it, because why the hell not? At the Department of State, the Project 2025 wanted to withdraw from the United Nations Human Rights Council. And guess what? We did. Trump accomplished that on February 3rd, 2025. So Human Rights Council, no, we don't want anything to do with that. We love making sure people don't have human rights. We love violating human rights here in America. Why would we ever want to be a part of the Human Rights Council for the United Nations? Project 2025 said we shouldn't do it, and the Trump administration made sure that happened. But remember, he had never heard of Project 2025, yet here he is, 42% into implementing all of their agenda items. In the EPA, Project 2025 wanted to stop all grants to, quote, advocacy groups, end quote. That was accomplished February 3rd, 2025. Project 2025 wanted to cut the budget of U.S. aid, and that was achieved on February 3rd, 2025, by freezing all U.S. aid funding and starting the process of shutting down the agency. At the CDC, Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Project 2025 wanted to end data collection on gender identity. And the Trump administration made that happen on February 26, 2025. Guys, it just gets worse and worse. Oh, here's one. At the White House, Project 2025 wanted to remove the words, quote, sexual orientation and gender identity, diversity, equity and inclusion, abortion, reproductive health, gender equality from every federal rule and agency. And guess what? The Trump administration that didn't know anything about Project 2025 implemented this Project 2025 agenda on January 31st. January 31st, 2025. That was important, huh? That was important for them. These are just a handful, because remember, 98 of the 300 and something Project 2025 agenda items have already been implemented by the Trump administration. These are just a handful. I could use the whole entire episode to go through every single one, which we won't. But let's get into some of the ones that are in progress, just so you know what's coming down the pipe. All right. Project 2025 wanted to abolish the Consumer Protection Bureau. That's in progress right freaking now. All CFPB staff were ordered to halt work and communications. This is currently being partially blocked by a court order, but who knows how that'll turn out. So that's in progress. At the Department of Commerce, the Project 2025 wanted to, quote, fully commercialize, end quote, the National Weather Service's forecasting operations. They want to privatize, commercialize the weather. The weather. They want private companies to be giving us the weather, not a national. Oh my God. And guess what, guys? This is from Project 2025, and it is currently in progress. It is in progress with the Trump administration. At the Department of Defense, Project 2025 wanted to expel all transgender people who are currently serving in the military, and this is currently in progress of being implemented by the Trump administration. It is currently being blocked by a court order. At the Department of Defense, another in progress Project 2025 agenda item, ending cybercom's participation in federal efforts to, quote, fortify U.S. elections. Did you hear me? So they're trying to weaken U.S. elections. These are the people who are all about how we got to make sure that the elections, everybody's got to have voter IDs. Everybody's got to have a valid driver's license. You got to be in line. You can't mail it until this day. And now they're trying to, according to this, Secretary Heggs has ordered Cyber Command to, quote, to stand down from all planning against Russia, including offensive digital actions, end quote. Now, I ain't gonna say that the election was rigged and that's why Kamala Harris lost. I ain't gonna go as far as to say that. But considering that we know that there was election interference in 2016 from Russia, I think this is a very interesting Project 2025 agenda item that is currently in progress to end federal efforts to fortify U.S. elections and stand down from planning against Russia. In education, the Project 2025 wanted to ban critical race theory and, quote, gender ideology from public school curriculum. That's in progress. Trump has issued an executive order directing the education department to eliminate federal funding for schools promoting, quote, indoctrination, end quote, based on, quote, gender ideology and discriminatory equity ideology, end quote. So, they're trying to get rid of critical race. We knew that. And gender ideology. We knew that. And that's in progress. And that was a Project 2025 agenda item that Trump is seeing through. It's currently in process. All right. In education, also, Project 2025 wanted to terminate the public service loan forgiveness program. And guess what? The Trump administration currently has that in progress. It is in progress to happen. Terminating the loan forgiveness program. Trump directed agencies to limit PSLF, Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, based on ideology. So if you were hoping to get your loans repaid, your loans forgiven, forget about it, because currently in progress, Trump is trying to end that, because that was what Project 2025 wanted. And we could keep going and going and going, but we don't have the time, y'all. Those are just a few of the agenda items that are in progress right now. So I encourage you to go and check out this website, Project 2025 Observer, Project 2025.observer. I encourage you to go and check out that website. And if you're interested in keeping track of what is being passed, what actual agenda items from Project 2025 are actually being passed by the Trump administration, that's a great resource to check out. So guys, 42% of the agenda is being passed. Okay. I want you to think about what that means. We are 3 months into the administration and they have already almost passed half of the Project 2025 agenda. It's not an accident that Trump is moving so quickly. We talked about his shock and awe methods here, how he's trying to keep everybody destabilized, keep them, off their game constantly with this barrage of initiatives that he's passing and these barrage of agenda items that he's passing. We talked about how that's part of the tactic to keep everybody basically fucked up so that they can continue to screw people, and we'll be so disoriented and discombobulated from all of this that we can't defend ourselves properly. And that there's a reason why he's doing this so quickly. And it's because he knows that his agenda items are unpopular. Project 2025 was immensely unpopular with the American people. And yet here they are ruling, rule by minority, right? Here they are holding us hostage by minority rule, right? Because of, a plethora of reasons why we're even in this position. But this man and his administration are just rolling things out at one thing after another because their goal is to just get as much shit in as possible because they know that their agendas are not popular. All right. And so this administration lied to the American people's face. Are we shocked? Of course not. They lied to the American people's face and told the American people they didn't know anything about Project 2025. They had nothing to do with Project 2025. But yet here we are 3 months into the Trump second administration, and they have already passed 42% of the agenda. Folks, this is not a drill. If you think that things are just going to miraculously fix themselves and, like order will reign, y'all are not paying a freaking attention, okay? This administration is going to do as much damage as possible in as short of a time as possible. Nowhere have we seen an administration move at this speed. We are in unprecedented times and people need to start acting like it. Stop acting like, oh, this is just, the regular, everyday type. No, it's not. Things are very different, folks. And so we can't treat them like they're the same. We have to recognize that the game has changed. The rule book has been not just thrown out. That shit's been lit on fire, stepped on, sliced to pieces, thrown into the shredder, and thrown down the toilet. Okay? 42% of Project 2025 completed in the first 3 months of the Trump administration. Y'all need to be paying attention. All right, let us move on, shall we? Okay. Would you divorce your husband because he kept closing jar lids too tightly? Well, one woman has. And she came to Reddit to ask if she was the asshole because she wanted to divorce her husband because he kept tightening the jar lids in the house too tight. Here's the full story. His over-tightening jar lids have been an issue since he was just visiting at my house when we were dating. First, it started with just things he used, and then over time, it became every damn glass jar with a metal lid. He tightened them so much, I couldn't open them without assistance. It wasn't a huge deal if he was there, but if I was alone, it was so annoying. More times than I can count, I've opened a new jar of something because I couldn't get the jar open. It's been a recurring cycle over the past 5 years. It's just a thing that would escalate until I had a major meltdown and freaked out, screaming, frustrated, and seemingly crazy because it's just a lid. Then it would get better for a while, and then it would slowly become an issue again. It was just getting worse and worse until I reached a breaking point again. Sometimes I literally feel insane for being so upset over jar lids. He initially claimed that he did it to, quote, keep food fresh, end quote. After many arguments about it, I insisted that I don't believe it keeps anything fresh. And even if it does make things last longer, I don't care if it means I can't eat my freaking food when I want. I'll just replace the things that go bad because they're closed normally. Then the excuse was, quote, it's a habit, end quote. Now this is where the story takes an interesting turn. About a month ago, my husband had a family emergency and had to travel out of state for 10 days. The first day he's gone, I discover a jar I can't open. I was annoyed and was going to the store to buy new pickles when the neighbor said hi and to let him know if I needed anything while my husband was out of town. I said, wait here, and got the jar, which he opened. The next day, I saw him outside and asked him to open another jar. He offered to come open all the jars. I agreed. And he came in. He went into the fridge and opened all the jars except 2, which he couldn't open. I thanked him profusely. He laughed and said, no big deal. And after confirming that I wouldn't be upset if the remaining 2 jars were destroyed in his attempt to open them, he took them home to his garage to open them one way or another. He said that he's heard me screaming about over-tightened jar lids a few times over the years, and he's really pondered if I was crazy or if my husband was really over-tightening the jar lids. He said, this was intentional. It was every jar. And I'm not sure he doesn't, I'm sure he doesn't regularly use hot pepper paste or mango puree or any of your other fancy cooking stuff. Then he held up the 2 jars he couldn't open and said, I don't know why he's doing it, but it wasn't an accident, end quote. After he left, I locked the door, sat on my kitchen floor and cried. Then I felt hot and lightheaded. I vomited. In the trash can, my chest hurt. It crossed my mind that I might be having a heart attack. I thought about calling an ambulance, but sat back on my kitchen floor instead. Later that night, the neighbor came back and with the open jar of hot fudge and apologized that he couldn't save the figs. He broke the jar trying to get it open. He also apologized for what he said about my husband doing it on purpose. I assured him it was okay. I couldn't sleep that night, tossed and turned all night. I called out of work. By 10 a.m., I realized that I couldn't stay married anymore. And I made an appointment with a lawyer for the next day. There are literally no other issues, no cheating, no abuse. We have a good sex life, both have good jobs, nice house, no financial issues. He was absolutely blindsided when he came home and I told him I wanted a divorce. He still won't admit that he tightened the lids on purpose. He suggested we go to marriage counseling, but I refused. There's no point. I just literally can't get past the goddamn jar lids. I still feel a little bit crazy about that. I have no idea why he would tighten every jar lid so tightly that I couldn't open it. He has given me no reason. He still won't even admit that he did it on purpose, but the hot pepper paste is in the back of the fridge. I use it only when I make Indian food. It's behind other things. He's never used it. It's nothing you could put in food without cooking it. The pepper paste could not have been an accident. It couldn't. Maybe he put mango puree on his toast or in his oatmeal, but the pepper paste couldn't have been an accident. That's what my life comes down to. I'm getting a divorce because the lid of my hot pepper paste was over tightened. If it had been every jar except that one, I could try. I could have a sliver of doubt. I could do something else, but I just can't get past the hot pepper paste. Most of our friends and family either think I'm crazy or an asshole. What do you think? Woo, what a story. Wow. Imagine getting divorced over hot pepper paste. But of course, that's not what she's really getting divorced about, right? That's not really what the issue is. So a lot of people in the comments said, no, she wasn't the asshole. One person said, quote, no, you're not getting a divorce because of jar lids. You're getting a divorce because your husband is gaslighting you for sport, end quote. Another one said that another one gave an example from their own life with a similar story. Quote, my ex told me he just didn't hear our 2 babies when they woke up at night. Too tired, just didn't hear them. I believed him. When the younger kid was 3, my ex told me he lied, smiled about it. Quote, I knew you'd get up. Of course, I heard it every time. End quote. Divorced him 6 months later. That was one of the responses from the people who said she was in fact not an asshole for wanting to divorce her husband for tightening the jar lids too freaking tight. However, there were some people who said that she was the asshole. One person said, quote, OP should buy a lid gripper and go to counseling to get her narcissism under control. Her narcissism. Divorce your man so he can find someone who's not going to divorce them over fucking lids, end quote. Another person said, quote, damn, women will divorce over anything. You can have a perfect life, but he over tightened the jars and it's ground for divorce. She could go on Amazon and buy a jar opener, but she opted for divorce, end quote. I'm pretty sure that the 2 people who said that she was the asshole were probably men, just saying. So what do you guys think? Do you think that she's justified in getting a divorce from her husband because he's purposefully tightening the jar lids in the house to give her a hard time and lying about doing it on purpose? Do you think that she is, that she is justified in trying to get a divorce because of this? Or is she the asshole? Is she being, doing too much like her family and friends think, like some of these people think in the comments? In my opinion, I definitely think she is not the asshole. I think let me tell you something, baby. I would get divorced for less. And I think she is 100% justified in getting a divorce. There are so many reasons why she is 100% justified in getting a freaking divorce from him. First and foremost, this man was going out of his way to make his wife's life a little more difficult in the tiniest, most psychopathic of ways. This shit is psycho as fuck. Tightening the jar lids excessively because you know that your wife is going to struggle to open them, especially after she's asked you repeatedly over and over and over again, and you've changed the behavior. So you can change it. You've changed the behavior, but eventually you always go back to the same old fuck shit until she goes off again. Doing this type of tiny little this is equivalent to like Chinese water torture. This is equivalent to cuts, death by a million paper cuts. This is the type of psycho ass behavior that makes people lose their marbles, yo. This is the type of behavior of someone who will fucking kill you, who will murder you. And I know that people will say like that's a huge leap to go from tightening the jar lids too tight so that your wife can't open them to murder, but the type of mind that will go out of their way to secretly tighten every freaking jar lid, including the jar lids of things he doesn't even use. The hot pepper paste, the mango chutney, right? The mango puree, even the things that someone who will go out of their way to do that is a fucking psychopath, and you should run from them. And you should also be asking yourself the question, what other secret little tiny things has he been doing to make me go crazy during this 5-year marriage? It begs the question, doesn't it? I mean, this is insane work. And it also speaks to another reason why I am 100% behind this woman getting a divorce because her husband tightened the jar lids too tight, is because it screams insecurity. It screams needing to be needed. Remember, as she broke down her story, she talked about how it was okay when he was around, right? When her husband was around and the jar lids were too tight, it was all good. No big deal. She could just ask him for help. But when he wasn't around, that's when it was the most frustrating for her because she couldn't get them open and he wasn't there to help her. And this just screams of creating a problem so that you can be the solution. And that is manipulation. That is gaslighting and manipulation, y'all. And it is dangerous behavior, and it is insecure behavior. This man feels like he has to go in and tighten every single jar lid in the house so that he can keep his wife around, because in his mind he's thinking, well, who's she gonna get to open these jar lids if she breaks up with me? She'll never break up with me because she'll never have someone to open these jar lids, without him realizing that, dog, if she breaks up with you, there won't be anybody creating the problem in the first place. There won't be anybody tightening the jars in the first place. So she won't have an issue. But insecurity blocks your cognitive abilities, your thinking skills. And so instead of working on your insecurity, you come up with stupid ass plans, sneaky little plans like tightening every single jar lid in the house so your wife can need you and not leave you because she needs you. Insecure people are some of the most dangerous people to be around because insecure people will do anything when they're feeling in the heat of the moment of feeling insecure. They will do anything to alleviate that insecurity, like tightening all of the jar lids in the house to make sure that their wife doesn't get a divorce because they're dependent on you. And then, it just, another reason why I 100% support this woman for getting divorced is because this is a tactic that a lot of men do. Most men do, cishet men, when they are in relationships with women, okay? Men will purposefully drive you crazy, ladies. This is a tactic that men use on purpose. And they do it for several reasons. One, it's to keep you off your game. It's to constantly have you on edge, always stressed out, because they are constantly doing little tiny things like tightening the jar lids too damn tight for you to open them. Or like one of my mutuals on TikTok, Laura Burns spelled Byrnes, if you want to go find her. She told a story about her husband, her ex-husband, how when they were married, he used to throw his clothes right next to the hamper. Not in the hamper, right next to the hamper. No matter how many times Laura would argue with this man and fight with this man about him throwing his clothes in the hamper, he would put it right next to the hamper. They do it on purpose, ladies, because they're trying to fuck with your head. They're trying to keep you off your game. Because when they keep you off your game, they can maintain control and exert power over you in the relationship. They know that when women are on their game, that they can't compete with us. So they keep us off our game by keeping us stressed, by doing these stupid little inconveniences, throwing your clothes right next to the hamper, tightening the jar lids too tight, pretending like you can't hear the baby crying when you're sleeping, even though you know you can hear it, so that your wife gets up to go take care of the baby and you can keep sleeping. They do this stuff on purpose. I had a friend who one of her exes punched a hole in her door. And he did it, and he told her it was because he was trying to get a rise out of her. They do it on purpose, ladies. They want to maintain control over you by keeping you on edge. Chinese water torture. If you're constantly on edge, your nerves are shot, you're afraid, your mind is always racing, you're always waiting for the next shoe to drop by this guy, right? He keeps you on edge on purpose. And they do that also because they're energy vampires. Cishet men are energy vampires when it comes to women. They drink up the energy from women. And they do these little fucked up things to try to activate you, to get a charge out of you so they can suck it up. They can suck up that energy. You know, when you're fucking with somebody, right? You're fucking with them and they're getting angrier and angrier and you're loving every second of it because you're just, you're messing around with them. And this could be negative or positive, right? But in a positive way, like you're just poking fun, right? And the angrier they get, the more energized you get, right? Because you're sucking in that energy. They're exuding energy, a certain energy, and you're just drinking that up. And that's what men do when it comes to driving women crazy intentionally. Messing with their partners, their wives, their girlfriends intentionally to keep women off their game. They are energy vampires, sucking the life out of you, draining you by doing stupid little things like tightening the jar lid too tight, pretending they don't hear that baby crying. All the other nonsense that women constantly complain about their cishet partners doing, their male cishet partners doing to them. And when you get frustrated and when you get upset and when you're knocked off your game, that man is just drinking that energy up, sucking it up, energy vampire style. So when you think that you're going crazy, like in the story of that we're talking about here with the jar lids, the husband tightening the jar lids too tight. If you notice, as she was telling her story over and over again, she kept saying, I can't believe, I feel crazy. I feel crazy arguing over jar lids. And that's exactly what they want. That's exactly what your husband wants, what your boyfriend wants. He wants you to feel crazy because he's gaslighting you. He's gaslighting you. He's poking you with a little needle over and over and over and over again. And then when you finally scream because you're tired of getting poked by that needle, he can gaslight you and make you even more crazy. And the more crazy you are, the more control that he has over you, the more power he has in that relationship. Dropping the clothes right next to the hamper and not into the hamper, that's a power move. That's him telling you, bitch, I wish you would. I dare you to do something about me dropping this shit on the floor next to the hamper. He's showing you who's boss. And if you tolerate it, then you have told him, I recognize that you're boss and I'm going to continue to be your little fucking slave and pick up your clothes and put them in the hamper, even though you are a full grown adult and you can do it. I'm going to continue pretending like everything's fine, even though I know that you're tightening these freaking jar lids on purpose to fuck with me, my husband. And you're going to make me feel crazy for even bringing it up because, are you kidding? You're getting divorced over jar lids? No, I'm getting divorced because you gaslit me, because you're going out of your way to make my life hard for no reason in the tiniest way. And that's psycho as fuck. And if this is what you're doing today, what are you going to do tomorrow? And what other little things have you been doing? Sometimes women, your boyfriend is your biggest op. Sometimes your husband is your biggest op. Sometimes he is the one ruining, making things hard for you. I remember I saw this TikTok. Oh my gosh. This woman posted a video. She had a nanny cam in her bedroom and she posted a video of her baby daddy. And I don't even know, were they still together? I can't remember. They may not have even been together, but he would come into her bedroom while she was asleep and he would disturb her sleep. He would like mess with her, make noise and stuff. So he would can you believe that? He would disturb her sleep. And she would wonder why she would be waking up feeling unrested. She would be feeling tired. And then one day she set up her nanny cam and she found out this guy was coming in, messing with her while she was sleeping, just so she wouldn't get a good night's sleep. And then if she goes and complains about it to him, he gonna tell her that she's tripping and gaslight her. I'm telling you, ladies, they do it on purpose. Sometimes your boyfriend, sometimes your husband is truly your biggest op. And they're doing it to keep you off your game. They're doing it because they are energy vampires. They're doing it because they are insecure and they need to feel needed. They're doing it because they need to keep you off your game so that they can, in their minds, compete with you. Because, men, the male mentality, everything is a goddamn competition. So do I think that this lady is an asshole for divorcing her husband because he was purposefully tightening the jar lids too tight so she couldn't open them? No. And I think it's interesting that one of the things she said as she broke down the story was that everything in her life was great except for this one thing. She said there was no cheating, no abuse. They had a great sex life. They had good jobs. Finances were good. The house was nice. Everything she said that everything was great. Except for this one thing. But I gotta say, I don't think that that's true. I feel like there were probably some other things going on. Why? Because she had such a violent reaction to her neighbor telling her that her husband was purposely tightening the jar lids in the house to prevent her from being able to open them. She had a visceral reaction. The woman fell on the floor, started crying, felt like she was going to throw up, and thought she was having a heart attack. She thought she was having a heart attack, y'all. She thought about going to the emergency room. That's how bad she felt. She actually vomited. She didn't almost vomit. She actually vomited. And then she couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned all night long. That's her body telling her the truth. You know, our body never lies to us. And sometimes our body is telling us the truth that our mind doesn't want to accept. And this is a really important lesson I had to learn the hard way. You know, I had a friend back in the day, a quote friend, who my body hated this girl. Hated this girl. When she would come around, my body would not want to be around her. When she would be in my house, my body would want her to get the fuck out. When I would go over to her place, I would want to get the fuck out. I physically did not like to be in her space. But mentally, she had never done anything to me. I was like, this girl never did anything to me. She's a nice girl. Like, I don't know why I have this visceral reaction towards her. And so because mentally I didn't have a rational logical reason for why I shouldn't be around this girl, I kept hanging out with her, despite the fact that my body kept telling me to stay the fuck away from this bitch. And guess what? Eventually, our friendship fell apart, and she ended up doing shady shit to me. Shady shit to me, including stealing prescription drugs from me, y'all. Yes, y'all. Yes, y'all. I caught this girl stealing prescription drugs from me. And so finally the relationship ended, and I realized after all was said and done that my body was telling me the truth. My body was telling me to get away from this girl, that she was no good for me. But my brain was overriding my body because it wasn't logical. Sometimes your body tells you the truth that your brain doesn't want to admit. And that's exactly what happened to this woman in her Am I the Asshole story about divorcing her husband over jar lids, tightening jar lids too tight. She says that her marriage was perfect, essentially perfect, other than this one issue with the husband consistently tightening the jar lids too tight. She said that was the only issue, but yet when her neighbor confirmed her suspicion that her husband was purposefully tightening these jar lids, her body gave out on her. She fell on the floor. She cried on the kitchen floor. Her body vomited. She had to purge. She tossed and turned that night because her body knew the truth, that her husband was a piece of shit who was intentionally, purposefully tightening the jar lids of every jar in the house, including the jars he never ever even used, just to fuck with her. Just to fuck with her and to keep her off her game. And he was gaslighting her about it every time she asked him to stop doing it. Oh, well, it's a habit. I do it to keep the food fresh. Now he doesn't know why he does it. And he never admits to purposefully doing it. Her body knew the truth, and her body told her the truth by making her throw the fuck up, making her collapse on the kitchen floor crying. Her body had to tell her what her mind could not accept. And sometimes your body is telling you a truth that your mind cannot accept. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where you're around a person that makes you feel like you want to jump out of your skin, I've had that happen, not just with that one girl. I remember I had this guy I was dating, and I thought he was so fine, y'all. He was so fine. He really was fine. And he was cool, and like we had a lot of fun together, but I could not stand him touching me. Every time he touched me, my body like literally would like jerk away. I remember one time we were making out in my living room, and then like we like went to my bedroom, but like I went first. So I thought that like he was not behind me, and I get into my bedroom, and as soon as I think I'm in the clear, I had to like do like one of these like, ugh, and like shiver him off. Right. And little did I know he was right behind me. Oops. But At the time I didn't understand. I'm like, I like this guy. He's attractive as fuck. I'm into him. But my body was telling me to stay the hell away from him. My body did not like his touch, despite how much I was attracted to him. And that was because my body was telling me the truth. This man was no good for me. And guess what? In the end, he turned out to be a motherfucking liar. Okay? So if you're ever in a situation where you're around people, or you can just be in a place, but especially when it comes to people, and you find your body doesn't like physically being in this person's space, your body feels like it shrinks away from this person or shrinks away from these people, or like you feel like when they touch you, you don't want them touching you, or they hug you and you feel gross inside, but the person is nice to you, they've never done anything to you, they're seemingly cool. Your body is telling you the truth about that person. That motherfucker's shady. They're out to get you. Stay away from them. They're not good for you. They're going to do you dirty. Run, 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 run. Trust your body. Trust your body. And you know what? I've thankfully learned that lesson. I had another friend who I was like, I didn't like to be around. I didn't want to be around them. And I was like, why do I keep hanging out with them? Because I have no good reason not to. But then I realized, you know what the good reason was? That my body didn't want to be in this person's presence. And my body was telling me to stay the fuck home. So folks, trust your body. Your body will never lie to you. When you need to leave the house, but you can't, something's keeping you from leaving, and you don't know what it is. It's like, why won't my legs let me go? And then you realize, oh shit, I left my phone. Oh shit, my wallet's on the counter. Oh shit, my keys are over there. And then suddenly, once you grab the keys, suddenly your body's like, all right, let's go. That's your body telling you the truth. So trust your body, folks. Your body speaks volumes, and your body always will tell you the truth. Sinking feeling in your gut when you're around somebody, don't fuck with that person. You cringe, your body creeps away from somebody, stay the fuck away from them. That's not somebody for you. Even if you have no logical reason, your body's the logical reason. If your body says no, that's all you need to listen to. And with that being said, folks, we have come to the end of another episode of No Niche Zone, the podcast about everything. You can follow us across all platforms at No Niche Zone Pod. You can also subscribe to our YouTube, same name, and you can email your listener letters to nonichezone@gmail.com. You can also follow me at Pris the Goddess across all platforms. And I think, I guess that's it. We'll see you next time, folks.